and welcome to Connected, episode 464. My name is Myke Hurley. I will introduce my co-host in just a moment. This episode is brought to you by Vitally, Clear My Mac X, and Factor. Hello, Federico Ticci.
Hello, hi, I'm back.
Welcome back!
I was very confused, I gotta say.
Okay.
For the past 10 days or so, I've been getting all these mentions on my Mastodon from, and at first, having not listened to what you and Steven did, I just thought that I figured it was your fault, but I was very confused because it looked like people were sending me descriptions for emoji. I figured after a while, but the problem was that I couldn't understand whether they were real emoji or not. And then I listened to the show, and you asked people to send actual descriptions of real emoji. However, I don't think everybody did. I'm pretty sure that a lot of passionate ones sent imaginary emoji. Like, those descriptions were not real.
I think what it did, I expect. I've not read your messages because it's very hard to do that on Mastodon.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like to read all of the posts that somebody would receive. But I feel like this is one of those things about emoji where people are describing their interpretation.
Oh, so you see my struggle when we played the Jeremys.
Well, it was in honor of you and the Jeremys, in honor of your birthday, your 25th birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Such a young boy.
Yeah.
Did you have a good birthday vacation, Federico?
It was great. I had way too much food. We went to southern Italy. We went to Puglia. It was peak season in terms of tourists. There was a lot of people. A lot of people. One day coming back from the beach, we were stuck in traffic for an hour.
Nice. Sounds great.
That wasn't great. But I'll give you this. I found the region of Puglia to be much, much more permissive and actually modern in terms of going to the beach with your dogs than, say, where I live. Like here in the Rome area, beach is 30 minutes away. And every single time there's a struggle because the local government doesn't want you to go to the beach with your dog. Even if you, obviously, as we do, keep your dog on a leash under the beach umbrella. Neither Zelda nor Ginger, they go swimming in the sea. They just want to stay in the shade. They don't do anything. But still, we cannot go to the beach. And instead in Puglia, we had a fantastic time because everybody was like, yeah, sure. As long as you stay under your beach umbrella and you don't let your dog run around and bother people, we don't care. It's fine. And that was nice.
So I'm currently outraged. I'm seething. I'm so mad right now. Would you like to know why?
Yes.
So I thought that what I would do is I would add a Wikipedia link to Puglia in the show notes so people could take a look at what is known as the boot of Italy.
Yes.
Right? Is what it says.
Correct.
But the Wikipedia page redirects to Apulia, Apulia, and it starts with Apulia, also known by its Italian name, Puglia. It's a place in Italy.
Yeah.
That's the name. This has always frustrated me since I was a kid. Why do different countries call the place what they want to call it rather than the name? Why do I call why is it Italy, right? You don't call it Italy.
No.
Right? It's Italia, right? And that's what we should do our best, I think, to actually call it like that rather than some weird thing that happens.
And it's confusing because it's only sometimes, right?
Yes.
For example, do you know what we call London in Italy?
Let me think.
It's Londra.
Londra, yeah. I mean,
where does the R come from?
It's not super different to the French one, right? And Spanish as well. It's very similar to that too. And I just find it it's always been very weird to me since I was a kid that there is these
translations for these places, yeah.
And it's wild to me. I'm actually quite disappointed in Wikipedia, right? Why is it I just don't think it should be the English version. It's even the URL is /Apulia.
Yeah, it should be the other way around. It should be the regional name, and also they should say called in English such and such. Yeah.
And I would call this Apuliang.
Wow. That's bad.
See, now I've done something worse than Wikipedia.
Yeah. Yes,
so
you did.
I'm just trying to take the heat. I have a little bit of follow-up.
Okay.
From a couple of episodes ago. We were talking about the app. You know what we have not addressed? Where Steven is? It's a good question from Kate.
Oh,
Federico's going on another vacation. He's living his absolute maximum Italian life this year. So he just got back from 2 weeks, and now he's going away again. And so we had the option of there was only going to be able to be 2 of us on this episode because
schedules.
We couldn't get all of our schedules to match up. So we decided to take the Myke and Federico route. So Federico wasn't gone for 3 weeks. So we are recording this like 36 hours earlier than usual. So it's something like 8 a.m. for Steven right now. So Steven's taking the week off. He is editing the show. So if there's anything egregious that occurs, you know Steven had his hand in it.
Yeah.
And you also, if you are a non-paying member of the show, you'll hear Steven during the ad breaks this week. And if you love Steven that much and you remember, go check out the ads. And then you'll get Steven. Anyway, back to the follow-up. Elsewhen was an application that we spoke about, which is a really good app for like time zone conversions, especially if you're a Discord user, because you can get these like time codes that you can paste into Discord, and it localizes to people's own time zone. Very helpful. We were talking about their menu bar app saying the word elsewhen. They have now fixed that. It seems like there was a confusion with the test flight, and the developers thought they had released the version where it removed that, and they have now done that. And it's a great app, and now it's the only time zone converter that I have in my menu bar on my Mac.
Very nice.
Long-time listeners may remember the iTunes movie trailers website, which is a thing we spoke about a long time ago.
Steven's favorite website.
Steven's favorite website, that there is just like, I don't know if it was like this before, but it's like wrapped inside of the current website. Like it's got the current toolbar at the top, right? Like Mac, iPad, iPhone, watch. And it's just this very, very old website that is like reminiscent of the iTunes music store from like, I don't know, the mid 2000s or something like that. Well, this has been updated because the iTunes movie trailers app got an update that said it was going away, and that now the Apple TV app is where you'll be able to find trailers now, not in like the iTunes movie trailers app. And so Steven checked the website, and the website still exists, but it has the same banner on it, which is like, hey, go and get the app. But the banner is not Retina, and when you click the banner, it doesn't go anywhere. So the iTunes movie trailers website continues to get the same amount of effort that it has always had.
This is so sad.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
This looks like a PNG image they made with shortcuts or something.
I'm actually super keen to discover if it is actually going to go away, because I just noticed my second favorite thing on this webpage. So you've got right at the top, Apple TV app is a new home for iTunes movie trailers, right? If you look at the bottom right, iTunes movie trailers available in the App Store.
And if you click
that
the link,
one works.
It takes you
nowhere.
that
one actually does.
No, it works.
The banner where they're saying like go get the TV app, that doesn't work. We spoke last time that we were going to be doing a live show in London. The tickets are now available. Go to relay.fm/London to get your tickets. This is going to be on July 27th, 2024, live in London at the Hackney Empire, which is an incredible venue that I went to a show at multiple months ago, and I thought to myself, Federico, this is the one. And we made it happen. Tickets are on sale now. They have been selling incredibly fast to members. We expected we'd sell maybe 200 to members. We sold over 400.
Wow. Okay.
We're approaching, I think we're approaching, probably by the time this is released, we will have sold over half of the tickets.
Okay.
We have a capacity of 1,200 people. This is going to be our first live show ever outside of the United States of America. It's going to feature many of your favorite Relay FM hosts in a Relay FM Family Feud / Family Fortunes game, like we did for our 5th anniversary show. There will be no video of this show. We will have hopefully a recording of this show. If you want to experience our 10th anniversary and celebrate it with us, the best way to do that is to be live and in person. You got to be there.
You got to be there. We'll be there, and
we're going to be talking quite a bit about video games today, I think, Federico, as we want to do. And at the moment, all we said is that like Myke and Steven will be there. You're Federico, but I was talking about Steven. Myke and Steven will be there. And I was imagining this almost like Smash Brothers thing over time of announcing which other hosts.
What's the tagline they use? Like a new fighter approaches or something?
Yeah. So we could be like a new podcaster approaches.
Yeah. Oh, you should totally do it.
And I was wondering if you were willing to be that person. The first one.
Yeah. I mean...
All right, okay, you ready?
A new podcaster approaches.
It's Federico Ticci, everyone. Federico is going to be there. New challenger approaches. Well, we're going to go with podcaster. A new podcaster approaches, and it's Federico Ticci. We are happy to announce Federico Ticci is the first Relay FM host who is committing to be at the 10th anniversary show. Go to relay.fm/London. If you are considering this, you really should go get a ticket. I was very hopeful for this, but I've been very surprised about how many people are planning a trip to London from other countries.
It's incredible.
I was hoping it would happen, and it's why we gave basically a year's notice. And I'm really excited about it, and we're going to do our best to make the best show possible.
Yeah, this is going to be wild. I can't wait.
And if we want to make the best show possible, Federico's got to be there. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Hell is frozen over. You can put links in emails now on iOS.
Game changer, right? So this is what happens when you play around with betas at night. And I was reorganizing my notes. We'll talk about this. I don't know if today or next episode or whatever. I was reorganizing my notes in Obsidian, Myke. Not in Apple Notes, in Obsidian. And I was just playing around with Mail. And I was asking myself, did they really not do any new feature in Mail this year? And as I was composing an email, I selected some text and I noticed an add link button. And sure enough, you can now do hyperlinks in Apple Mail without having to do any of those weird tricks or use a shortcut to do it. You can just select some text, add a link, and it's going to be the text you selected, but underlined in blue because it's a link. So I'm guessing it's the same button and it's sort of the same menu that you get in Apple Notes. But obviously in Apple Notes this year, you can do all kinds of links, right? You can do internal links. You can do links to the web. This is much more simplistic because you can just link to a web page. But as I was composing my post for Mastodon about it, I stopped because I wanted to say, well, since the first iPhone came out and I was typing, it's like my instinct was to type 6 years ago. And I was like, wait, no, that's not right.
No.
And so I started counting with my hands and I did the math. I was like, wait, what? The first iPhone came out 16 years ago? And it dawned on me that it's wild. And I don't know if this is also true for you, but like the iPhone doesn't feel 16 years old to me.
No, sure.
The iPhone always feel like, the first iPhone, it's like, it's 6 or 7 years ago. But nope. Another way to think about it is the iPhone is approaching 20 years. Which is...
The upsetting part of that is that...
It's wild, right?
It was the 25th anniversary of the G3 iMac.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That we just had that anniversary. There does not feel like 9 years difference between those two things.
Are we old?
We're old to a lot of people. We're young to a lot of people still, but we're old to a lot of people.
Is that a sweet spot?
If you think about...
Maybe?
It's a spot. I don't know if we could call it the sweet spot. Because like the thing is, if you think about 16 years, right? Like think of how many people in their 20s would have been like aware of the iPhone, and then it's taken 16 years and now they could be listening to the show. Like I feel like this a lot when in our Discord. I don't know if you feel this in your Discord, but there are a lot of people in our Discord that I know are younger than me, like a lot.
Oh yeah.
Which I guess is self-selecting for Discord, right? I think, right, in general. But it is something that I am increasingly becoming aware of. But I think the awareness of it is good, right? We talk about that on the show a lot, of like being aware of our ages and considering how we stay relevant and like paying attention and stuff like that. So
yeah, anyway, 16 years ago. Now after 16 years, you can do links in email. So
excellent.
There's at least one new feature in iOS 17 in Apple Mail.
For all those Gen Z kids that want to put links in their email.
All those kids who just want to hyperlink away, you know?
I guess like most of these people, they're just used to just pasting links, right? Like that's just what we do.
Yeah, and they're used to seeing, like, when you think about it, so this is a totally normal detour for us. But when you think about it, I would say the most kids these days, they're not used to, like when I think of a URL, when I think of a link, me as a 35-year-old guy, I think of an HTTP, like I think of it as text. I would say that maybe the new generation thinks of links as these like visual bubbles because they're used to seeing rich links. Now like on Twitter, on iMessage, on WhatsApp, Instagram, like the link is the, and sure, I mean, there's still like the blue underlying text, but most links these days, they don't look like links. They look like previews.
While we're complaining about links and being old, it really annoys me now that social networks put the @ symbol in the URL. Mastodon does this, TikTok does this. Why? Why is that? Why does the @ symbol need to be in the URL? The usernames are distinct anyway. Why does the @ need to be there?
The @ symbol is supposed to be in email, not in the URL. It gets me every time.
I like that typically users, right? You're at this, at that. Like that's fine. But why does the @ symbol need to be in the URL?
I know,
like,
it looks
that's
wrong.
just complicated, an unnecessary complication, it feels like.
Yeah.
If people know why this is a decision, please write in connectedfeedback.com. Like, I want to know, like, why did they do this? This is obviously not a groundbreaking feature, but it's just like a thing, right? This links and email thing. It's like, here's a fun little detail. You post it on Mastodon, right? Like, people want that from you.
Yeah.
But in general, it doesn't really feel like the betas are providing a lot of this kind of stuff. I guess this isn't important for your review because the review is about the whole thing. But I feel like we're going multiple betas now and we're not, it feels to me like there's not a lot of like, hey, this thing just got changed.
Yeah, I noticed that this summer. I was talking about this with John and maybe with you guys. In previous years, you know, beta 4, beta 5, Apple continued to add new stuff. Like, and you remember my, you know, at the time used to be Twitter. Like I used to tweet in beta 3, there's now this. In beta 5, you can now find this new detail, this new feature. We didn't get as much of that this year. And I gotta believe it's because, like, broadly speaking, 17 is a smaller release than previous years and it's easier to write about. Not a lot of things got changed. It's pretty much what we saw in June. Was tweaked here and there, but really, for example, this new add link menu, but really, you can, it's probably less than 10 big changes. You know, some buttons got their position changed, but I don't count that as a new feature. It's been a different beta season. It's gotta be because, like, obviously Apple is busy with the Vision OS and Vision Pro. This is actually the beginning of my review. It's like, it's been a strange year. In a good way, I think. 17 is a fun release and widgets really steal the show. But it's been a different beta season where usually I would have to like follow the evolution of the beta, right? Taking screenshots of beta 1 and now this is going to look different. I was taking a look at screenshots that I took in June and they're pretty much the same as the latest version. So, yeah, it's been a different year, I think.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Vitally. Customer success teams today are facing a problem. How do they connect customer data back to their work? Well, Vitally changes that because it's a new kind of customer success platform. It's an all-in-one collaborative workspace that combines your customer data with all the capabilities you expect from today's project management and work platforms. And that's because it's designed for today's customer success team. That's why Vitally operates with unparalleled efficiency, improves net revenue retention, and delivers best-in-class customer experiences. It's the solution to helping your customer success team keep a better pulse on your customers, which maximizes productivity, visibility, and collaboration. You can boost your bottom line by driving more revenue per customer with Vitally. And if you take a qualified demo of Vitally, you get a free pair of AirPods Pro. So if you're a customer success decision maker actively seeking CS solutions, working at a B2B software as a service company with 50 to 1,000 employees, and you're willing to explore changing customer success platforms if you already have one in place, you should schedule your call by visiting vitally.io/connected and get that free pair of AirPods Pro. The link is in the show notes, but it's Vitally, Vitally, vitally.io/connected for a free pair of AirPods Pro when you schedule a qualified meeting. Our thanks to Vitally for their support of the show and Relay FM.
A couple of days ago, you shared with me and Steven your desk, and I thought this needed some immediate analysis
Okay.
on the show. So I'm going to put a couple of links in the show notes for images that you've got going on here. I would say this is maximum Federico. I feel like this overall desk image. I feel like it is also very like desk porn. I feel like you've done a good job of that, right? You've got like a good angle on one of these images here, right? Like everything is like neutral colors, but you've got actual color in here, right? You've got some purple going on. All these, everything looks like it's been meticulously chosen and placed where it's supposed to go. I'm assuming you're pretty happy with this.
I am pretty happy with this. I should say that I am still not fully done. There's a few things that we are that I'm going to tweak and change. So we're gonna talk about this, but basically what I wanted to do was I wanted to keep the things that I wanted to have on my desk: the HomePod with the battery base, the Anchor charging cube, obviously mouse and keyboard, and my audio interface. I wanted to hide the computers that I use from view and mount them underneath the desk. So that's what you can see in the second picture. This required a lot of cable management, which we're going to get to in a minute. And it also meant that I had to change a few of the accessories that I was using. Again, I will explain everything in a bit. So there's a couple of things that I am going to explain shortly. The first one being, I am still not sure about the audio interface that I'm using.
You have the Elgato Wave XLR, right?
I wish I could get something that wasn't black and not made of plastic. Ideally, I would like to have something even more minimal with like made of aluminum or I don't know, just more rectangular shaped with an XLR connector either on the front or on the side. Because the Wave XLR has it in the back. Also the headphones, they plug in the back. And I'm not a fan of that because it means there's always going to be some distance between the back of the unit and the wall because I need to be able to plug in connectors. And so ideally I would like to have something rectangular shape, metallic, more minimal looking with connectors either on the front or on the side.
I have two recommendations for you.
Please give them to me.
The Audient Evo 4.
Wait, I need to write this down. Audient.
Audient.
Audient Evo 4.
And the Rode
Oh, this is
AL1.
nice looking. And sorry, the?
Rode, REDE, AL1.
AL1.
Yeah, these are both the marker recommendations.
Oh, I prefer the Audient, I think.
I think this is the more expensive one, so yeah, you'll probably like this one more.
I
haven't used either of these. I don't know I don't know these, but I know that he tests them, so.
I really like the look of this. Oh, but where's the connectors?
On the back, maybe?
On the back. All right.
I know that's not exactly what you want, but the Rode connectors are on the front.
See, it's on the front. All right. I'll take a look at this when I come back. And what I was going to say. So, all right. Let's talk about this desk because there's a part that people don't see. Obviously, people from the picture, they can see the light strip. They can see that I mounted there's a little bracket underneath the desk to either place my MacBook Air or my iPad Pro. The thought was most of the time it's going to be the iPad Pro. When I record podcasts, it's going to be the MacBook Air. But there's going to be a single USB-C cable that will connect either of these computers. The CalDigit TS4 dock is mounted also underneath the desk, as is the USB-C switch for switching between either the cal digit, which is input 1, or I never spoke about this before, so all of this is new to this show, fresh. Input 1 is the cal digit TS4 dock. Input 2 is my eGPU.
Uh-huh.
So
Later, we'll get to that later.
we'll get to this.
How
in
are
a
you
bit.
mounting these? Like, what are you using to mount this stuff?
I got the extra strong double-sided adhesive tape. The Americans call it 3M, I think.
Right.
In Italy, it's a different brand called Patex, which is, I don't know what it means. But it's super strong, and it doesn't leave any residue when you take it off. So it's very nicely done. Quite expensive.
So you're just
but
sticking like the tape to these devices and then just sticking the devices to the underside of the desk?
yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And very clean, doesn't leave any glue or any... and it can
Obviously
hold...
not the laptop, though.
No. The laptop has its own bracket.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
No, I am not.
I'll just stick it under there.
I wanted
cares?
to get a bracket for the cal digit as well, and I probably will, but it was only available on Etsy, and I didn't have the time because we know with Etsy you gotta wait multiple weeks. But I probably will get a mounting bracket for the cal digit. Ideally, if I had a 3D printer, I would just 3D print all of these myself. But
I've been thinking about getting a 3D printer.
yeah, me too. But I don't have the space. I don't have the time for it.
I feel like it would be pretty good at the studio.
Yeah.
Here's another thing.
You do have
ConnectedFeedback.com. Tell me what 3D printer to buy. Understand that I don't want to do any of the work.
Good luck.
All I want to do is download files that people make and print them. I want the simplest option.
Good luck with that.
ConnectedFeedback.com. Yeah, well, you know.
So yeah, eventually I'm probably gonna get proper like 3D printed brackets for the TS4 and also the Eero that I have. The Eero, I have wired Ethernet, and there's an Eero, what's it called, satellite unit or whatever. But it's not, because of the shape of the base of the Eero, it's not so easy to stick adhesive tape to it because it's like curved and it doesn't really make great contact with it. So I'm probably going to get a bracket for the Eero Pro 6 as well.
Could you not just like stick it upside down?
No, because it's curved.
No, the bottom of it?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you have different eras to me. I think you have the E ones. I don't have those ones.
But really, the main thing that I still need more time to think about is the eGPU. I have the Razer Core X with an NVIDIA 3080 Ti inside. I've been using this for the past almost for a year at this point. Again, we'll get to this in a minute. I am not sure if at some point it'll stay. Right now, it's out in the open under the desk. There's a little cabinet where
It's a big boy.
It's a big boy.
Big boy.
It's a big boy.
It's basically a PC. It's
I know.
like the size of a PC.
But this is the space I have for it. I don't wanna.
Yeah.
I don't wanna build a super compact PC, and I don't wanna get. I used to have a tower PC. I don't wanna have a tower PC because I don't have the height for it. I don't have the space. It needs to be this kind of object. But I don't know if it'll stay like it is right now, or if we'll get some kind of dedicated small cabinet for it with proper ventilation, like a door that opens, or like one of those doors that are see-through so the air can flow in. So that's the part I'm not sure about. But roughly speaking, this is the setup. Nothing on the desk except the HomePod and the Anker charging cube and my audio interface, and everything else under it. Although we may be changing the cable management or how things are mounted, but this should give you an idea. There's a switch with 2 inputs, one for the CalDigit TS4 dock that lets me use either my iPad Pro or my MacBook Air, and the second one for my eGPU, which connects to the switch using a DisplayPort to USB-C cable for my gaming PC. And this is part 1 of this conversation. Do you have any other questions about my desk?
The desk is like a custom thing you have made, right? Like the actual desk itself.
Yeah.
It's like rich Italian artistry.
That is actually correct.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And, you got to get it done right. What keyboard and mouse are you using?
Oh, I'm using the Logi MX Keys Mini and the MX Lift Vertical mouse. The other Logitech mice were giving me some wrist pain, and this Lift, I don't remember who recommended this to me. It was a Discord member. It changed my life. This vertical mouse, it's a very oddly shaped object. I'll give you that, but it's perfect. Like, I haven't felt any wrist pain anymore. And I got this keyboard and this mouse because they have 3 inputs, which is perfect for me. Input 1, gaming PC. Input 2, iPad Pro. Input 3, MacBook Air. And I can just press a button and switch between them.
You have the MX Keys Mini?
Yes.
Yeah,
with the Mac keys on it.
Yes, I have one of these vertical mice. I ended up going back to the regular one. I like the vertical mouse, but I went back to the regular one just because it was fine for me. I think the reason you were struggling with the other ones is the same reason I struggled. You put too many little shortcuts on the buttons.
Mm-hmm.
That was my issue. When I was really struggling with the MX Master mouse was because I was doing too much of all the little buttons that it has. Like the little click surfaces and the left and right buttons. I think they're not very ergonomic, and it caused me quite a bit of hand and wrist pain. I had to stop doing all of that. And when I stopped doing all of that, it became more comfortable. But the Lift is an ergonomic mouse, right? So like it's a much more natural way for you to hold your hand, where you hold it vertically rather than horizontally.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the problem for me, was like holding it horizontally, and I don't know what it was, like the muscles in my forearm were always like tense when I was holding a regular mouse like that, and that just doesn't happen anymore with a vertical mouse.
Trackpad?
Well, I don't want to again, the idea is I don't want to have too many things on my desk, right?
Clearly.
And so I just, as much as I will love for Apple to figure out like a magic trackpad, which I would prefer a trackpad to a mouse, but it doesn't switch between devices. And so I cannot use them. I prefer
You mean your PC, right? You can't switch it between the
Yeah.
Mac and the PC?
Yeah. So it's better to just have one set, because I know myself, I'm not going to do like, take the keyboard from the drawer and, swap between multiple keyboards. I'm just not going to do it. It needs to be one thing that works all the time. And this is it.
When you work, do you put things on the desk? Right? So like if you're working on something, do you like have other stuff on the desk that you then clear away? Like your desk is always like this?
Yeah, it needs to be like this. If
Okay.
I would temporarily, like right now, for example, I'm packing and there's my Nintendo Switch is here because I gotta put it away. But normally when I'm working, like it needs to be clear.
Man, you should see my desk.
Yeah, and I cannot do it. It needs to be empty and I'm facing the wall. I don't see anything else. Close the door and I type.
Actually, in a couple of weeks' time, for an interesting reason, I'm making a desk video. I'm going to make a video about my desk and how I have my desk set up. It's going to upset you. Like, I'm going to tidy it and it's going to upset you.
Well, I know that, everybody has their own things.
My biggest issue for desk messiness now is I work on physical products.
Yeah.
To do that work, I need lots of sheets of paper and like paper samples and stuff, like, and I have to lay them all out. And it's kind of like, if I'm working on something for like a week and it's this kind of stuff, I'm not going to like put it away. I just put it to the side in a pile and then get them out again when I need to continue work on it. And then eventually, like I did just this the other day, like a couple of things are all taken care of now, so they've been filed into this filing cabinet that I have, but there's still other stuff going on, so I have like sheets of paper all over the place. It's very, but also, even if I didn't do this, I just like to have stuff around me. Like I like little trinkets, which you are not a trinkets person.
No, I'm
except
not.
for the amiibo, but they don't go on the desk.
Well, no, they're in a separate cabinet.
Yes,
living
the
their
trinket
best
cabinet.
life. Yeah, it is exactly that. Yes, this is part one, I guess, of this conversation. There is a part two.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Clean My Mac X. Junk files, hung processes, and malicious apps can slow down even the latest, most powerful machines. Maintaining your Mac, whether old or new, is essential for a smooth macOS performance and just making your Mac a happy place. Clean My Mac X is an all-in-one Mac maintenance tool that takes care of old junk, faulty apps, and malware in an efficient, aesthetically pleasing, and hassle-free way. Using the app's menu bar app, you can monitor your Mac's health, CPU load, and more. With nearly 30 million downloads and 15 years of expertise, this app is a must-try for any Mac user. Run Clean My Mac X to gear up your Mac for the groundbreaking additions announced back at WWDC. As Apple continues to pack Macs with more features, Clean My Mac X ensures that your hardware remains healthy and running at peak performance so you can enjoy a seamless macOS experience. I love that all these tools in Clean My Mac X are bundled together in a UI that's not overwhelming, it's not confusing, it's very easy to understand, and not just for nerds like us. All Connected listeners get 5% off. Check out the link in the show notes or go to macpaw.app/connected. That's macpaw.app/connected or click the link in the show notes. Our thanks to Clean My Mac X for the support of the show and Relay FM.
I'm thinking about how to best approach this. So I mentioned the eGPU, right? And you may be wondering, wait, why do you have an eGPU if you used to have a proper gaming PC? All right. So we need to start from summer of 2022.
Okay.
If you recall, last year, that old Stage Manager saga was really difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
And all the stress and the delay of iPadOS 16 and the bugs and the issues and the fact that I ended up publishing a review of iOS 16 that didn't have the iPadOS part in it. I published these, some people would say scathing story about Stage Manager in October.
It would be right to say that, to be honest.
I didn't really want to do it, but I had to. And by the end of October, sort of in November, once everything was done, I felt exhausted. Honestly, I felt kind of burned out by the whole thing.
A lot of your friends were having a lot of conversations with you about like what you should be doing, what they recommended. I was one of these people, right? Like we were all having these conversations with you because you were clearly going through a bit of a crisis. And
yeah,
I would say you had your mid-computer life crisis, which we're going to talk about.
Yes.
But yeah, you were going through a time. It was difficult.
I was going through a time, and yeah, it honestly was the equivalent of a midlife crisis, but for a computer nerd. Because to the point where I started questioning all my life decisions in terms of like, what do I actually do for a living? What do I like to write about? If a bad operating system update can do this to me, what does it say about me as a writer? What does it say about me as a person? It's like,
Ooh.
Right? All those questions.
Those are big questions.
Those are big
Big
questions. Right? And I really struggled with this, and I talked about it with Sylvia for months. And so I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. From January to June of this year, in secret, without telling anybody for months, eventually I told my friends, I used a Microsoft Surface as my main computer for 6 months.
Which one?
The Surface Pro 9. I told you and John and Steven about 3-4 months. 3 months in, I think.
It kind of got to the point where, I mean, we all knew you were doing something because you kept teasing it on the shows and stuff anyway. But there were, working with you, a lot of hints that we could see. Like, I knew it was Windows because of the way that some of your files were being named, but I didn't guess the Surface. I just thought you were working more from your Windows PC, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought you were doing.
Yeah.
But like there were things that were happening where it was becoming like increasingly more difficult for you to keep it to yourself from the people that were immediately around you.
It was impossible to hide. Yeah, It was impossible to hide. So let me start from the end.
Oh, okay.
That experiment is over. Lasted for almost 6 months. At the end, I realized why I prefer the Apple ecosystem, why I prefer the iPad Pro. And then, of course, iPadOS 17 happened at WWDC. Apple listened to my complaints. I got my Stage Manager fixes. Everything was good. But even before WWDC, I had already reached the point where I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't like working on this, and I don't imagine myself working on this as my only computer in my life. But still, what will follow now is a summary of what I learned in 6 months. In this experiment, that was absolutely useful and fun. And I think because of this experiment, I think I'm a better writer and just in general tech observer than I was before it. And in general, like it really helped sort of my, like it did help my mental health in many ways. Like just, I need to do this for myself. Even if the content I write about will suffer and my workflow will suffer, I just need to do this thing because it's gonna help me. And it did. So for 6 months, I used the Surface. And initially, it was very challenging and exciting, sort of exhilarating all at once, because it's a very different type of computer. And I'm going to go through the list of good things about the Surface. It runs Windows. It's a tablet. It's a convertible tablet that runs Windows, which means you can do whatever you want. And the first reaction, like this, the honeymoon period for the first month or so, it's like, oh, this is incredible. I can do whatever I want. You can install multiple web browsers. You can install all kinds of modern or legacy apps. You have a terminal. You have a proper file manager. You can do whatever you want. It's a computer. It's like Mac OS, but it's also a tablet, right? So I can take it out of its keyboard case and I can use it as a tablet, or I can, it's got a USB-C. It's got two USB-C ports from that support Thunderbolt. So I can just use them with my studio display. That's what I did for a long time. I use the Surface Pro 9 with my CalDigit TS4 dock. And because everything is Thunderbolt, it just worked out of the box. It was incredible. It's a real computer running real apps, different web browsers. It makes you feel so empowered by this idea of it's a true convertible, right? It can be a laptop, it can be a desktop workstation, it can be a tablet. The multitasking is great. I used to be a fan of Windows multitasking before the Surface, and I came away from this experiment liking it even more. Even though obviously Stage Manager is in a much better spot than it used to be last year, the tile-based multitasking on Windows, I'm really a fan of it, especially because Microsoft themselves, they make this utility called Windows Power Toys. And Power Toys is like, imagine if Apple made better touch tool, right? It's a utility to enhance different parts of the operating system. And Power Toys has these additional tools for multitasking to make your own presets, customize gestures, customize hotkeys. It's really well done. If you're a power user, if you're a nerd and you want to just play around with these things, a Surface lets you do this kind of custom enhancements that you just can't do on an iPad Pro. So the multitasking was great. Having two USB-C ports was fantastic. So you can plug in a Thunderbolt cable to connect to a monitor into one port and maybe charge it or connect another accessory in the other secondary port. There's a built-in kickstand, which is great. I mean, obviously, you know me. Any device with a kickstand would get a good mark in my book, but the kickstand here is just wild. You can just flip it open. Good quality. It's sturdy. It's easy to open. Lots of freedom in terms of viewing angles. I really like it. One of the things you can do with the Surface is you can open it up and change its storage, which I did in February. I don't remember what's the type of storage, like the solid state little flash card that the Surface uses. It's not
NAND.
But it's not an M2 SSD.
Oh, it's the really tiny one.
The really tiny one.
Yeah,
so I got myself some thermal paste. I opened the Surface. I got the M2 2230. Thank you, Zach.
M.2 2230.
That's the standard that it uses.
M.2 2230. That's what it's known as in the industry.
Got myself a 1 terabyte card. I opened the Surface, applied some thermal paste to it, and after...
You put thermal paste?
Yeah, you gotta put it.
Yeah. I know, I'm sure you do, but like I just love the idea of you using thermal paste. I don't know why. It excites me.
That's nice. It was nice. So one of the things you can do, it's a computer. You open it up, you change storage, and you reinstall Windows, and you're done. And then we get to the gaming part. So as I was using the Surface, and I gotta say, behind the scenes, I was talking to a friend of the show, Steve John-Smith. And Steve was a great help. Steve was, I think, the first sort of, beyond Sylvia, was the first internet person that I know from my work to know about this experiment. And Steve gave me a lot of tips. And one day, I believe, maybe half jokingly, Steven said, well, now that you have a Surface and it's got Thunderbolt on it, hey, maybe you should look into eGPUs. And so I was like, that's an interesting idea. So I started doing a lot of research, and I decided, well, I want to try this. I want to see what happens if I try to use my Surface. The idea was, can I really use this as an all-in-one computer for everything in my life? Can it be a true convertible? Can it be my tablet, my podcast computer? Can it be a laptop? Can it also be my gaming PC? Can I really achieve this dream of the true convertible, the true all-in-one? So I got the Razer Core eGPU enclosure, a 3080 Ti, and a 5 meter, is it 5 or 3? I don't remember. But basically an extra long Thunderbolt Pro cable that Apple makes. It's made by Apple. I don't recall if the length is 3 meters or 5 meters. Anyway, it was a really expensive cable that I was able to, because initially the setup was, the eGPU was in the living room. It was under my TV. And I wanted to run a Thunderbolt cable from the eGPU to the coffee table in front of my couch. There, I would place the Surface and connect it to the eGPU that was feeding the image to the TV. And for months, that's how I played video games. From February, when I got the eGPU, to May? Yeah. That's how I played PC games in the living room with a Surface running an eGPU. And that whole experiment made me realize I've become one of the few eGPU diehard fans. I just love it as an idea, even though I know there are so many compromises with eGPUs. One of them being, for example, that you get a lot of Thunderbolt-related bottlenecks in terms of performance. You lose, I would say, 30 to 40% the performance of a graphics card when you run an eGPU with the Microsoft Surface. Even the latest version of the Surface Pro 9. Like,
what is this Surface specific?
It's Intel chip specific for the kind of architecture and the kind of bandwidth that you have for the Thunderbolt controller on the chip, on the Intel chip. There is, as we're going to get to in a minute, there is a way to improve things, but because of Thunderbolt, you are going to lose some performance with an eGPU. There are ways to make it better, as we'll see in a minute, but with Thunderbolt, you're going to lose some performance. There are some...
Right, and is that the difference of like... If it's PCI...
If it's PCI, it's going to be much better. Because
then if you're using Thunderbolt, it's just got constraints.
In fact, eventually, I hope I'll be able to someday try the PCI-based solution that Asus, they have. Asus as a proprietary connector based on PCI. And that's what they use for the ROG Ally. And they have... Asus, they have their own custom-branded eGPU called the XG Mobile. And inside of it, they have a 4090 laptop version. And because of the PCI Express connection that they have, they doesn't have the bottlenecks and the overhead that Thunderbolt has. And this is a whole story we can talk about. There's a subreddit all about eGPUs. A lot of people highly anticipating the rumored Thunderbolt 5 standard that's coming out at some point. We don't need to get into all of that. But still, and we're still in the list of pros here, just playing video games with an eGPU, just having a tablet that you connect a cable to it and you can play Elden Ring on a TV, or you can play, I was playing, what did I play this spring? Final Fantasy
Cyberpunk?
Cyberpunk, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, Octopath Traveler 2, like a lot of PC games I just played on a Surface with an eGPU. And sure, it didn't have the same performance of a desktop 3080 Ti, but it was also a tablet that when I was done playing, I could just, put the cable away and get the Surface.
So by and large, you were playing with the Surface in the middle, right? Like you weren't really playing on the Surface. You were just using the Surface and the eGPU on a bigger screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was doing. Now the list of cons. The battery life sucks, man. It's like, it is the thing is, the iPad Pro runs cool. It gets warm if you're doing some intensive tasks, but the battery life of the Surface, it runs Windows, and Windows is very poorly optimized for tablets, and it gets hot.
Well, it's an Intel chip too, right? Like it's
an
like a
Intel
regular
chip.
Intel chip. It's not like an ARM processor.
It's not the ARM version. It's an
Yeah.
Intel chip. It gets hot. There's a fan inside.
Yep.
And it spins up a lot of the time. And really, the general takeaway from using a Surface as a tablet is that it's not a great tablet. And the tablet experience of a Surface, and really Windows in general, is kind of terrible. Microsoft, they've been working over the past few Windows releases to really optimize things for tablet usage and for touch usage, but they still have such a long way to go in terms of making an OS. And this is what I came away with a newfound appreciation for what Apple does. Microsoft has such a long way to go in terms of designing an OS that can comfortably switch from a pointer with a trackpad to your finger to an Apple Pencil as 3 different input methods. The stylus that the Surface has is horrible compared to the Apple Pencil. Nothing beats the Apple Pencil in terms of performance, ease of use, the quality of the ink, the response time, the lag. It's so much better. And broadly speaking, just the Surface is weird when you hold it in portrait because of the form factor. Sometimes the screen doesn't rotate and you gotta reboot the computer to get it unstuck. And just the tablet experience in general, it's not nice. And you can tell that it's not made for your fingers. There's no such concept of, 3, 4, 5 finger multi-touch gestures. Just the whole tablet experience is very bad compared to an iPad.
And it's because, this is the thing with Windows in general, they won't let go of Windows, right? Like they refuse to let go of Windows. That like if Microsoft actually just decided to make what Apple did, it would be nicer to use, but then it wouldn't be much of a benefit over iPadOS.
Yeah.
Like this is their issue, right? They can't let go of Windows because then they'll have no apps. Like they have to hold on to Windows, but that means they then can't make so it's that they are in like a constant like balancing act of like how much can they give and how much can they lose.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
The display, like just using a Surface and then going back to the iPad Pro, you realize just how much better especially the display of the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is compared to whatever the Surface has. It's got a high refresh rate, but it's not mini LED. And there's just something about the liquid retina display of the iPad Pro that looks so much better. The colors, the rounded corners, it just looks like a much better display. And the Surface one looks cheap in comparison. It doesn't have True Tone. It's all these things that makes you appreciate. I know that it's it sounds obvious, but and I think you like doing this experiment, if you can afford it or if you find you're interesting, I recommend it because it makes you appreciate a lot of things that we just spoke about, that Windows does and that the Surface does, but it also makes you appreciate a lot of these integrations that Apple does with the hardware and the software. And it's a trite thing to say, but it's true. For example, and I think this is for me the most important part in this list of cons, just the app ecosystem is so much better on Apple platforms. And this is not just about the iPad Pro, but including the iPad Pro, just the whole thing and that's in spite of the App Store, but just on the iPad, there are nice apps. And especially once you start considering macOS and iPadOS, there's just so much choice especially if you are a creative person, I couldn't find the equivalent of something like Audio Hijack
No.
on Windows.
No, I had so many problems with this. With like, so the F1 show I do with Austin Evans, we do that on PC. Like I do it on PC because we stream video too. Like we record video. It's just easier to use something like OBS and all that kind of stuff to make the videos with. But we record the audio for the show there, and I was spending a lot of time trying to find something, and ultimately I just ended up using Audacity, which is like fine, but there's no way of me doing what I do with Audio Hijack. So like on my Mac right now, I have a recording of me, I have a recording of you as a backup, and then I have the mixed recording of both of us happening that Stephen will use to line up all the editing and stuff. Like there's just no way that I found to do that as easily or even nearly as easily or even at all on Windows.
All these apps for creatives, whether it's for podcasters, for audio professionals in general, for text editors, menu bar apps with widgets. Like once you try Windows, you realize there's a ton of web apps, which are great. Some of web apps are truly great, but I learned something about myself, which is I really just prefer the Apple ecosystem and native apps and having all these different integrations, having the share sheet, having extensions, having a menu bar component, having, shortcuts. I tried to use the automation equivalent for Windows made by Microsoft. What's it called? No, it's not called Flow. They have something, Windows Power Automate, maybe? It was so confusing, even though it does have some aspects to it that should be copied by Apple. Like, for example, you can make subroutines, you can save templates and all that kind of stuff. But the whole thing is just so, first of all, ugly to look at. It's just like a lot of Windows software is just ugly. Like, and it sounds silly, but, and again, it comes down to a matter of taste. One of the things that got me every single day was the typography. It looks so bad on Windows. And then again, maybe taken individually, all these things that I'm saying, they sound stupid. But when you take them all together, if these are those types of aspects of using a computer that resonate with you, you try Windows for a while, and I'm sure you will notice the same things I did. So all these apps, like I missed shortcuts so much. So many times I wanted to make something for myself, like a little tool to speed up something I wanted to do, and I couldn't. Yeah. And it makes me sad that maybe Apple doesn't quite appreciate what they have on their hands with shortcuts, and other platforms don't, at least not so well designed or easy to use. But broadly speaking, yeah, it was that. Ultimately, at the end of these 6 months, I felt like I needed to get this out of my system. And I did. And I came away thinking, I miss the Apple ecosystem. And I sort of I needed to do this to relearn and reappreciate why I do what I do for a living, what I like to write about, why I like the iPad so much. But there were positives, right, that I took out of this experiment. One of them being, I know it's a very niche thing, but I love eGPUs just as a concept, as a thing. Like imagine the graphics card being its own modular thing. It comes down to that, right? It's that idea of modularity that really gets me. So there will be a conclusion to the eGPU story in a minute. But ultimately, I went back first to a MacBook Air, and then in June with iPadOS 17, I knew, well, it's time to go back. It's time to come home. And I did. But I'm so glad that I did this experiment because it made me appreciate a lot of things. I'm convinced that there's so many aspects of the Surface that Apple should consider, whether it's the kickstand, the multiple USB-C ports, a more open iPadOS, all these, even more flexibility for multitasking, letting people install utilities like Power Toys to customize their experience. There's so many things that Apple should consider, but ultimately the app ecosystem, the polish, the design, the hardware, the performance, it's just, I just prefer the Apple stuff.
And it's been super helpful, though, that Apple has now gone ahead and like significantly improved Stage Manager, which clearly, like, I
Yes.
mean, I know you know this, but you can look back and Stage Manager was the reason this whole thing happened, right? And so Stage Manager improving significantly to be at least the bare minimum that we expected it to be the first time around has made this experience something you don't need, which I think was something you felt before. It was like a need rather than just an interest.
Yeah. I needed to do this after last year. If Stage Manager shipped like this, I probably wouldn't have done it. But this is not how these things work, right?
No.
Sometimes you screw it up the first time and you got to fix it the following year. And that's what happened. But hey, I learned a lot of things. And I tried so many different apps and web services. I tried, again, Todoist, Notion, Obsidian obviously was on Windows. So it was useful. It was a very useful experiment. The eGPU is still with me. And in fact, it's better than ever. It's now under my desk. So it moved from the living room to the office. And it doesn't connect to a Surface anymore. I got an Intel NUC. I got an Intel NUC Pro, the latest gen, with the 13th generation Intel chips, 64 gigs of RAM, and 1 terabyte storage. And this is now my gaming PC. Connected to the eGPU. It does have Thunderbolt, obviously. Connected to the eGPU and connected to the video switch. So that's how I play PC games. I know this is probably the last in the NUC dynasty because Intel has officially stopped making these. So the NUC 13 Pro that I have is the last of its kind. And eventually, when this is not enough anymore, I'll probably just get another. At some point, realistically, maybe in the
small form factor. Come on, baby, you're so close, Federico, to a small form factor
I know.
PC.
Let me use this for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Use that, right? And you just keep doing your thing for now.
This is my plan.
And then next time we're small form factoring.
Yeah. But I can tell you that by going from the Surface to the NUC, the eGPU alone has seen a 25% performance increase.
Huh.
The numbers that I get with the eGPU now are essentially in the ballpark of a proper desktop 3080 Ti. They're like 10% under it. So it's pretty good for being an eGPU powered by Thunderbolt. I ran a lot of benchmarks with 3D Mark on Windows, and they are, I would say, from 10 to 12% under the performance of a proper desktop 3080 Ti. So you got a big jump by going from the limited system on a chip of the Surface Pro 9 to the proper desktop version, 13th gen Intel chip in the NUC. And it's also a matter of cooling because the Surface would throttle the system aggressively when it got too hot. The NUC has multiple fans inside. So yeah, I'm pretty happy right now with this setup, and I think I'll use it for the next few years. But yeah, eventually, I think in the future, I will get a small factor PC for sure, but not right now. I don't want to.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Factor. With all the busy fall season has just right around the corner, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for jam-packed days. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. It can help you fuel up fast with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. Here in the Hackett household, Factor has been a big hit. It's hectic with back to school, kids running everywhere, a lot of stuff to do, and Factor makes it really easy to know that we have a good, wholesome meal ready to go. And with Factor, you can skip the extra trip to the grocery store. Their fresh but never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes. And you have more than 34 flavor-packed options to choose from each and every week. If you want something special, level up with Gourmet Plus, prepared to perfection by chefs and ready to eat in record time. So you can treat yourself with upscale meals with premium ingredients. Plus, you can keep your energy up with lunch to go. Factor's effortless, wholesome meals like grain bowls and salad toppers, no microwave required. And then to finish your order, choose from more than 45 add-ons, including breakfast items like apple cinnamon pancakes, bacon and cheddar egg bites, and smoothies. And those upscale meals come with awesome ingredients like broccolini, leeks, truffle butter, and asparagus. You can rest assured that you're making a sustainable choice because Factor offsets 100% of their delivery emissions to your door, along with sourcing renewable electricity and featuring sustainably sourced seafood. Head on over to factormeals.com/connected50 and use the code connected50 to get 50% off your first box. That's code connected50. The URL, once again, factormeals.com/connected50 to get half off your first box. Our thanks to Factor for their support of the show and Relay FM.
All right, we're doing a lot of gaming talk today. Talk around gaming today. I want to actually have a gaming conversation now with you because Steven's not here, so we're just going to do it.
Okay.
Starfield. So, if you don't know, Starfield is the next big RPG coming from Bethesda Game Studios, who are owned by Microsoft. As we started recording today, Federico, I don't know if you saw, but it seems like some kind of resolution has been drawn for the Microsoft Activision.
Yeah, they're gonna sell the cloud gaming.
They're going to license the cloud gaming to Ubisoft. I don't fully understand how this is going to happen.
They're gonna license it? Okay.
Yes. It's like they're licensing to Ubisoft, and then like Ubisoft will give it back. I'm confused about this. It's complicated. It happened just before we started recording. I'll read about this later on. It's very strange. But this was something that I was hearing people like Ben Thompson talk about as like a possibility here. But it seems like they might be doing it worldwide rather than all of the... Anyway, it doesn't matter. So let's talk about Starfield, though. On the face of it, this game is, could be the biggest RPG like in size ever. It is seemingly like trying to deliver upon the promise of No Man's Sky, right? Like there are all these planets, you can go to them, there's stories on a bunch of them. They're being very open that like there isn't story on all of them, but there's things you can do on all of the planets. And it's got, base building, ship building, dogfights in ships, stories on the ground. There are these whole planets, there's this whole universe. You can go and do anything you want to within this space. Are you excited about Starfield?
I am very excited about Starfield, but also scared at the same time. So let me contextualize. I am intentionally going into Starfield knowing very little of it.
Well, there isn't a lot to know.
I didn't even watch the gameplay reveal video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't want to know. That's also what I did for Zelda this year. I want to know as little as possible. But I am, and maybe here you can help me, I am unsure which format to play. And at the same time, I am scared because that's, when it comes out, those will be the days when I will have to finish my iOS review. So
yeah,
very, very conflicted, very mixed feelings right now at the moment.
Yeah, because it comes out, it's complicated. The first time that it can be played is next Friday, the 1st of September.
I cannot. How can you play next Friday?
By buying it.
By buying it.
Okay, so this is going to be on Game Pass.
Okay.
It will be on Game Pass on the quote unquote release date, which is September 6th. But if you buy the game, you buy from the premium edition up, the premium edition's $100 or whatever, and it comes with a bunch of extras. You get 5 days early access.
So this is not a physical copy, right? This is like a digital download.
Digital premium edition. There are physical premium editions, but there is also the digital premium edition, which you can play up to 5 days early access.
Digital premium edition, up to 5 days early access.
Starting on the 1st of September, that will be. And it's also available for preloading now, so you can download the game. It's 140 gigabytes. It's massive.
Okay.
So you want to preload it. I have bought it for the early access.
Okay, yeah, I'll probably do the same. Did you get it on Steam?
No.
I
bought it on
your Xbox?
On my Xbox. So I can also play it on Xbox for PC.
Okay.
This is very confusing the way that this works, but there is an Xbox app on the PC where you can play Game Pass games and you can also play games you have bought on Xbox.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Right. So I have bought that and I'm going to be playing it on both. There is, for reasons that will become apparent next week, I want to be able to stream the game in early September. And so I want to be able to have that open to me from 1st of September, which is why I bought it. Because I do also play for Game Pass. I wouldn't do this otherwise. I'd probably just wait unless the reviews are like astronomical, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm expecting good reviews.
Oh, me too.
8s, 9s out of 10. That's where I think this is going to land.
I mean, this is gonna be the game that, like, right now, and I think the game of the year contenders are probably at least 4. I would say Zelda, Starfield, Baldur's Gate 3, and Resident Evil 4 remake. I think judging from,
I think Resident Evil's not going to be in the actual, like, it will be in the like Game Awards, but it's not going to be.
It'll be considered. I don't think it's gonna be it either.
I think at this point, it probably between Zelda and Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, at this point,
because
yes.
Baldur's Gate has the surprise factor of it being so good. I have not played Baldur's Gate yet, but I actually do want to play it before the year is over.
I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it or not because I typically
Neither do I.
Yeah, because I never played. This is a confession. I've never played D&D in my life.
That is not a big confession. Most people haven't.
Really? I feel like in our circles, it's
becoming more popular than ever, but most people, like, yes, I know what you mean. Like, maybe in our circle, it's becoming more and more, like, but I doubt Steven's played D&D. So on this show, it's only me that's played it. But everything I've heard suggests that Baldur's Gate really is best on PC, that, like, the mechanics of the game don't lend themselves very well to controllers. So playing it on the Steam Deck is possible and, like, very doable, but, like, there's a lot of, like, radial dials for things where it's, like, way easier to just click.
Oh no, mouse. But I'm not gonna play with a mouse anyway.
Right. But you can play with controller, and, like, it's an experience that you can enjoy.
I have the Starfield controller.
Well, no, I'm talking about Baldur's Gate here.
Oh, okay.
We'll come back to Starfield in a second. Baldur's Gate specifically is
I've seen those
better
menus.
than that.
Yeah, I've seen those menus. Yeah.
So who knows? But for Starfield, everything all the investigations that I've been doing would seem to suggest there is cross-play, like cross-saving. So, like, you can play on your Xbox and you can play on your PC, and it should keep your progression in check. Like, I've done a bunch of research for as much as I can do, and it seems to suggest that that's the case. Because that will be what I will want to do. Like, if I'm enjoying this game, what I will probably do is take my Xbox Series S home and play on my PC at the studio.
Yeah,
like,
good idea.
I want to play it on Steam Deck, but I actually don't think it will work on Steam Deck. This is also the investigations that I've done, that, like, the minimum system requirements are too high for the Steam Deck, which I think is
that's too bad.
From Bethesda, I think that's a shame. Like, I consider that to be a bit of a shame.
I wonder if maybe a rogue ally will support the Starfield.
You know what? Probably. I reckon maybe a handheld will make this game work, but
one of the many A&EOs.
One of the 6 A&EOs released this week may control. This is like, if you know about A&EO, they're like a company that makes handheld games. This is an ongoing joke between me, Federico, and John Voorhees, that, like, every week there's a new A&EO, and we always find them and send them to each other because it is constant. Yeah, and there was one today. There was a new A&EO. They announce them, and before they ship, there's always another one they've announced. It is unbelievable, this company. Like, I don't understand how they make any money, because they're always releasing new hardware. But yeah, my kind of plan, I also have the Starfield controller for my Xbox, which is awesome.
But I can stream from the PC to the Steam Deck if I want to play in the bedroom at night.
Yes.
You know? Steam, what's it called? It's not called Steam Stream. What's it called? Steam
Link?
Steam Link. Thank you. Steam Stream.
But that's Link. If you have the Steam version, where I'm deciding to go for the Xbox version.
So you always got to play in front of a TV. That's it. Unless will it support cloud gaming? Well, that's something you could do.
I think yes is the answer to that question.
That's something you could do.
That's something I could do.
Yeah.
That is something I could do. I'll look into that. But I'm going to see, because, again, like, my hype levels are mid to high for Starfield.
Mid to high? Yeah, I would agree with
Mid
that.
to high. Because I've played Bethesda RPGs. I've never been like
Super into them.
thrilled
Yeah, me
with
neither.
them. Right? Like I've played like Elder Scrolls, I've played Fallout, like I've played them. They've never truly grabbed me. But this one thematically does, right? Like I'm more interested in space than high fantasy or apocalypse. Like I'm more interested in like just space as a theme.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like they've done a lot of work on their like combat, like on the gunplay and the physical combat compared to a Fallout game. And you can play in third and first person. You've got a mixture of that, which is good. I'm intrigued more about this than I am maybe other games. And so like for me, it's kind of like, well, I have my plan of how to play it, and I have my like staged plan of if I'm hooked on it, then the ultimate is like if this is like a game that I can't stop playing, I'll find a way to play it on my Steam Deck. Because I think I spoke about this on the show, like at home now, I don't know why, but like I don't really like to take up the main TV
Mm-hmm. Understandable. Yeah, I have the same
for
problem.
games. Like I like my games now to be more of a me experience than an experience for everyone.
That's why I don't play PlayStation games as much anymore.
Same, and I will be a day one buyer of that Project Q for this reason.
Yeah, I was literally gonna say the same thing. Thank you. Yes, me too. Do we know when it's coming out?
I reckon it's before the end of the year. I am
Perfect.
desperately hoping it's before Spider-Man.
Yeah. I mean, it's gotta be because I know that with PlayStation Remote Play, yes, you can use your phone, and yes, you can use apps on your Steam Deck, like Chiaki, for example. It's something that I have on my Steam Deck to remote play. But you know, it's not gonna be as native and as integrated as that little thing that Sony is making, which doesn't have a name yet beyond. Is it called called Project Q?
That's the name.
That's
that they
the name.
It's not going to be released as that, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they just feel like it's like really hit with people. But
Mm-hmm.
and like, you know, say something like Spider-Man, right? I'm going to want to experience visuals and sound, right? I'm going to want to experience that for sure. But I don't want it to be my only way I can play the game, right? Like,
Yes.
and it'll be the same for Starfield. Like, I will want to experience it on my PC at like maximum settings, right, with headphones on and really get the full experience. But I don't want it to be the only way that I can experience the game. Like, if I'm like, you know, in an environment, or if I'm like I'm at home and it's just me, like Adina's doing whatever, like she's in her office or whatever, then yeah, I'll put it on the TV and I'll play it. But if she comes downstairs, well, let me bring it to something that's more personal to me, and it's just easier that way. Like, that's what I like, and that's how I would experience something like Spider-Man, which I'm more excited for Spider-Man than I am for Starfield, just for me, of like right now, with not knowing anything. Like, I could imagine, you know, if Starfield comes out and it's 9s and 10s out of 10, my hype level will increase, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I'm expecting this to be a really good game. I think there is way too much expectation on this game.
Yep.
I think it's going to probably fall prey to some of the issues that Bethesda games have. This game has too much hype on it to have those, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it will blow everybody away. But I'm pretty excited about it.
Me too, and I'm pleased you have those same thoughts that I have about, like, in terms of these days, and this is something that I'm sure the Nintendo Switch helped change over the past
100%.
years. Like this new perspective of, I want to play the same video game in multiple flavors, if you will, like in different contexts, which is not something when I was growing up, that was just not a thing. The place where you got the game was where you played it. So it was a Game Boy, it was always on the Game Boy. It was on the PlayStation, it was always on the TV, and so forth. But now this sort of more fluid approach to, like, yeah, sometimes I want to play on my phone, sometimes I want to play on a portable console, other times on a TV, sometimes on a PC. I love it. I love it. And so that's my plan for Starfield 2. I'm probably gonna get it on Steam, playing in the office, and figure out the streaming situation for the Steam Deck, I think. And I had one more question for you. After beating the main story of Zelda, have you found yourself revisiting Zelda for doing like, interesting?
I played it a little bit for some time, like a few hours, and then I had other games that I wanted to play. So like when Breath of the Wild came out, it was all I wanted to play. It was all I really had. But I had a couple of games in my queue, like Dave the Diver. Like I really wanted to play Dave the Diver.
I'm playing that too. It's so fun.
It's fantastic. I'm having a great time with that game. My plan for Zelda is I will come back to Zelda
with the DLC.
either randomly or with DLC. Because there's still stuff I want to do in the game. I just have other stuff that I want to play. And I felt much more satisfied with the end when I finished Tears of the Kingdom than I was with Breath of the Wild.
It was a proper conclusion.
Yeah, there was an end, an actual real story conclusion than like, hey, you did it. That's it. Where like I feel like I really feel like I got exactly what I wanted from Tears of the Kingdom, but I still spent like multiple hours still like going around afterwards. But then I was like, all right, I'm going to put this away for now. I'm going to pick up some other games. I'll come back to Tears of the Kingdom later on. But like, you know, I've played more than enough of that game to know it's my favorite game of all time. Like, it's easy.
Yeah, I want to revisit it. I just felt like I need a little palate cleanser after Zelda. So that's why I picked up Pokemon Scarlet again for a while, because I realized I still had to unlock 6-star and 7-star raids because I never did that part of the story, let alone the Pokédex. But I don't know if I'm going to have the time for it. There's the DLC coming out of that in September too, which I want to play. So yeah, the thing is, this year is kind of insane for video games. There's so much stuff like Baldur's Gate, Starfield, Zelda, Pokemon DLC. There's all these indie games on the Steam Deck, including Dave the Diver, which I'm playing right now. I still want to play Resident Evil 4. There's a new Spider-Man coming out. It's been a pretty good year for video games, and as always, the problem is...
you are forgetting Super Mario Wonder.
Oh my god, yes.
Super Mario RPG.
Is that this year?
Both this year.
I totally forgot about those games. Yeah, I did. I did forget about those games.
Alan Wake, which I'm intrigued about, but it might be too scary for me.
Too spooky for me. No.
Yeah. Maybe that will be a game where I watch a playthrough, I think, is probably what I'll do with Alan Wake. There's so many games still yet.
Final Fantasy 16, I forgot. Oh my god, I still need to play that.
You haven't played Final Fantasy 16 yet?
No,
Huh.
I was...
Okay.
What was I doing? Playing Zelda. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what COVID did to the game industry. It put all the games into 2023.
they could have staggered these releases though. Like, everything in
sometimes you just got to get it out, right? Like,
Yeah.
you've got it, you've been working on it. It's like 2 years delayed. Like, you've got to put it out so you can start on your next thing.
Starfield. That's it.
That's it. I think next week all three of us will be together, but who could tell?
That should be the plan. Yes.
I mean, eventually it's got to happen because, like, at some point, it's probably within the next 3 or 4 weeks, we'll be doing the Rickies.
Oh my. It's that time again. I can't believe it. Yeah.
If you want to find us online, you can find Federico over at macstories.net. That's where you find Federico's work. He is also on Mastodon as @Ticci on mastodon.macstories.net. You can find my work here on Relay FM and also at cortexbrand.com, and I am on Mastodon at myke.social as @imyke, IMYKE. Our wonderful editor and co-host who will be returning next time is Stephen Hackett. He is over at 512 Pixels and on eworld.social as @ISMH. We are all kind of asterisk on Threads. Federico is on Threads. He is @Viticci, VITICCI. I am imyke, IMYKE. Stephen is @ISMH86. It's never not make me laugh. Did you see there's a now Threads web app? I'm excited to use that.
I saw the link appear in our group thread.
I wonder if that will provide you any more luck.
I can try shortly, and I'll let you know.
Thank you to our sponsors this week, the fine folk over at Factor, Clean My Mac X, and Vitally. Thank you to our members who support us with Connected Pro. Go to getconnectedpro.co and buy a ticket for our London live show next July. Tickets are on sale now at relay.fm/London. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Until next time, say goodbye, Federico.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.